Breaking: Shedeur Sanders trade imminent after coach's shocking betrayal. Blockbuster Shedeur Sanders trade is now inevitable, and the reason why will absolutely infuriate you. Multiple league sources confirm that Cleveland Browns management is actively fielding calls about their fifth-round sensation. But this isn't about roster management, this is about a head coach's jealousy destroying the most promising quarterback talent the franchise has seen in decades. Kevin Stefanski just made the most franchise-damaging decision in Browns history, and what happened during yesterday's practice session proves that Sanders' days in Cleveland are numbered. The writing is on the wall. The phones are ringing, and by the time you finish watching this video, you'll understand exactly why the Browns are about to hand another team their future franchise. Quarterback. The bombshell dropped like a nuclear explosion across Cleveland's training facility when trade rumors started swirling harder than ever. According to multiple sources embedded deep within the organization, Stefanski walked into the quarterback room carrying what everyone thought was just another routine practice script. 30 seconds of normal pleasantries, then the sledgehammer fell without warning. Shedeur Sanders, the fifth-round phenomenon who's been torching NFL defenses for 8 straight days, would be completely eliminated from all meaningful team activities. Not reduced reps, not second-string opportunities, complete elimination. The kid who just delivered the most perfect practice performance in Browns history would watch from the sidelines while inferior quarterbacks fumbled away precious development time. The room fell dead silent as offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt's face literally drained of color, processing the implications of what he'd just heard and what it meant for the organization's future. But here's what makes this decision absolutely inexcusable and why trade talks are heating up. 24 hours earlier, Sanders had delivered quarterback perfection that veteran coaches claimed they'd never witnessed in 30 years of professional football. 17 passes attempted against Cleveland's starting defense, 17 completions. With surgical precision, 8 touchdowns through varied offensive concepts, 0 incompletions, 0 poor decisions, 0 missed opportunities. Defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz allegedly pulled his defensive backs aside afterward, telling them straight up, "I've coached 30 years professionally. Never seen a practice performance approaching that level." Kid special. Pro Bowl safety Grant Delpit approached Sanders post-practice declaring, "You're different. Man, different level. Keep going." Multiple defensive starters echoed similar sentiments privately, acknowledging they'd witnessed something extraordinary that transcended typical rookie development. Then, inexplicably, complete organizational sabotage arrived 24 hours later without explanation. The conspiracy runs deeper than anyone imagined, and league executives are taking notes about Cleveland's dysfunction, making trade conversations more realistic by the hour. The moment rotation. Announcements reached position groups. Competitive energy completely evaporated while trade speculation intensified. Sources describe the transformation as jarring, where previous sessions featured infectious enthusiasm and electric competition. Today brought uncomfortable tension, whispered speculation, and fractured focus. Offensive linemen exchanged bewildered glances. Receivers peppered coaches with inquiries that went unanswered. Running backs huddled, discussing implications, while tight ends appeared visibly confused about the organization's direction. Sanders' professional response painted compelling composure, masking internal turmoil that would break lesser men. The quarterback arrived identically prepared as the previous 8 dominant days, full uniform, immaculate. Pre-practice routine executed flawlessly, throwing motion remaining effortless despite knowing he wouldn't get meaningful opportunities. Every detail suggested another stellar performance awaiting. Then crushing reality struck. When he realized politics had trumped performance and his future might lie elsewhere. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel monopolized every meaningful repetition despite consistently inferior performance throughout camp. The third-round selection performed adequately, things spectacular. Nothing terrible, simply adequate play that wouldn't threaten established hierarchies or make coaches look foolish for their previous evaluations. Where Sanders created explosive possibilities, pushing defensive limits, Gabriel produced conservative outcomes within comfortable parameters that protected egos while potentially pushing Sanders toward the exit door. The downgrade proved obvious to anyone observing without organizational bias, protecting mediocrity over excellence. But the real explosion came from the locker room, where veteran players couldn't stomach watching this injustice unfold and began questioning whether the organization deserved to keep Sanders. Locker room reaction proved explosive beyond anything the organization anticipated, with players openly discussing whether Sanders would be better off elsewhere. Multiple offensive starters confronted coaches seeking explanations that never came. Pro Bowl guard Joel Bitonio allegedly pulled the offensive line coach aside, demanding clarification about competitive integrity. All-Pro defensive end Myles Garrett questioned Stefanski directly during the stretch period about decision-making that defied logic and potentially damaged championship aspirations. Stefanski reportedly responded curtly before walking away, refusing to engage with legitimate concerns from team leaders who understand Sanders' value. Star receiver Amari Cooper avoided media completely post-practice, unusual given his typical availability and professionalism. One anonymous starter stated emphatically, "We're trying to win games here. Politics ain't winning games. This decision ain't about winning games. This is about something else entirely, and maybe he needs to go somewhere that appreciates what he brings. That something else represents organizational dysfunction, threatening competitive viability." While making trade scenarios more attractive, team leaders convened an impromptu meeting post-practice, addressing the elephant in the room: no coaches invited. Veterans expressed frustration watching inferior quarterback receive opportunities while perfection stands sidelined. Younger players questioned organizational commitment to meritocracy. Several suggested Sanders deserved better than Cleveland's politics. The fact such a meeting occurred speaks volumes about dysfunction, reaching critical mass, and players potentially advocating for Sanders' departure to protect his career. This transcends practice rotation management. This represents organizational sabotage of generational talent, creating the perfect storm for a blockbuster trade that benefits everyone, except Cleveland's future. But the conspiracy gets darker when you examine the numbers that make Sanders so tradable. Through 8 days of camp domination, Sanders posted completion percentages that embarrassed veteran quarterbacks, touchdown-to-interception ratios that defied rookie expectations, and leadership qualities that had teammates gravitating toward. His energy, his statistical superiority over every quarterback in the building became so obvious that keeping him buried threatened competitive integrity. Day 1 showcased impressive processing speed that caught coaches off guard. Day 2 revealed undeniable arm talent that separated him from the competition. Day 3 brought expanding command, with teammates responding enthusiastically to his presence. Day 4 featured protection adjustments mastered with elite pocket presence rarely seen in rookies. Day 5 delivered anticipation throws that stunned veterans who'd played with elite quarterbacks. Day 6 demonstrated complete offensive comprehension that made coaches question their depth chart decisions. Day 7 dominated scrimmage situations, separating from competition definitively, while proving game situations didn't rattle him. Day 8 achieved statistical perfection against the starting defense, trying everything possible to challenge him, creating the performance that should have earned promotion, but instead triggered organizational panic. Veterans acknowledged that transformation occurring before their eyes, with offensive linemen mentioning pass protection became easier given Sanders' processing speed. Receivers described renewed purpose knowing balls would arrive perfectly placed. The entire offensive ecosystem elevated through quarterback excellence, raising everyone's performance while making the decision to bench him more inexplicable and potentially more tradable than suddenly, mysteriously, complete exclusion without justification, revealing a conspiracy against excellence that makes trading him seem merciful compared to organizational burial. League executives monitoring the situation understand that Sanders' talent combined with Cleveland's dysfunction creates the perfect trade opportunity for teams needing quarterback solutions. Social media explosion occurred instantaneously. With trade speculation dominating every platform, Browns fans flooded social networks demanding accountability while suggesting Sanders deserved better. National analysts questioned Stefanski's competence openly while discussing potential landing spots. Former players expressed incredulity publicly, with many suggesting trades that would benefit Sanders' development. Local radio experienced record call volumes from fans proposing trade scenarios. Shedeur trended globally within hours, followed by trade proposals flooding timelines. Such reactions accompany decisions, defying competitive principles while creating market demand for Sanders' services. League executives monitoring social sentiment understand the optics. Cleveland looks incompetent while Sanders appears sympathetic, increasing his trade value significantly. The human element makes this trade scenario even more compelling. Sanders' journey from fifth-round selection to camp sensation captured imagination nationally. With his father Deion's legacy adding marketability, son systematically overcoming draft slide-through performance, proving doubters wrong, earning respect, teammates gravitating toward leadership, then suddenly benched without explanation following perfection. Multiple franchises understand. Sanders' story writes itself positively anywhere except Cleveland. City embracing new hope after decades of quarterback disappointment, then watching organizational politics destroy that hope unnecessarily. The narrative practically demands a trade to rescue Sanders from dysfunction while giving him opportunities to flourish elsewhere. National perception shifts dramatically against Cleveland overnight, making trade discussions more likely. Cleveland becomes a laughingstock again through quarterback dysfunction, returning to headlines. Organizational incompetence gets highlighted. Ostensibly, while Sanders appears as the victim deserving rescue, media narratives crystallize around Cleveland's inability to recognize talent, making other franchises look competent by comparison when pursuing trades. Free agents notice such dysfunction, while draft prospects take notes about organizational priorities. Reputation damage accumulates rapidly when performance gets punished rather than rewarded, all from one inexplicable decision, defying competitive logic while potentially forcing Sanders to seek opportunities elsewhere for his career's sake. Financial ramifications extend beyond football considerations, making trades more attractive for all parties. Sanders' merchandise sales eclipse all Browns players combined, despite limited playing time. Marketing campaigns feature him prominently based on potential, rather than production. Sponsorship negotiations reference his marketability extensively, with companies understanding his appeal transcends team loyalty. Season ticket renewals spiked following his emergence, with fans purchasing based on hope he'd get opportunities. Television ratings correlate with compelling storylines, and Sanders provides exactly that narrative appeal. Sidelining impacts revenue streams organization-wide, while other teams recognize the marketing goldmine being wasted in Cleveland. Business executives understand these dynamics, create win-win trade scenarios. Football operations apparently doesn't comprehend or doesn't care about consequences, making Sanders available to teams that would maximize his commercial and competitive value. Simultaneously, consider the New Orleans Saints' desperation creating the perfect trade destination. Derek Carr's unexpected retirement blindsided their franchise, ripping away veteran leadership at quarterback. Their draft answer, Tyler Shuck in the second round, has proven disastrous through training camp performances that make Sanders look even more valuable by comparison. Shuck's accuracy remains erratic. Footwork appears clunky, decision-making stays slow, with the lowest point being a 2-minute drill, so catastrophic that veteran reporters labeled it the worst they'd ever witnessed. That's not exaggeration, that's franchise quarterback desperation. Creating perfect trade conditions for Sanders. Rescue from Cleveland's dysfunction. The Saints need quarterback talent with poise under pressure. Someone who can energize their fan base, sell jerseys, and bring hope back to the Superdome. Sanders represents everything Shuck isn't: polished, ready, marketable, and capable of immediate impact. Unlike Cleveland's politics, New Orleans would embrace Sanders' talent rather than suppress it through organizational jealousy. Multiple league sources suggest Saints management is monitoring Cleveland's dysfunction closely, recognizing opportunity when organizational politics create availability. Jimmy Haslam, confirming trade discussions changes everything. Teams don't have to wonder if Cleveland might listen because the door is already open for serious negotiations. This represents more than roster management or development patience. This embodies everything wrong with traditional NFL thinking: predetermined hierarchies superseding performance, politics overruling production, comfort chosen over championship ceiling. Cleveland risks squandering generational talent through institutional stubbornness and personal bias that benefits no one except coaching egos. Tomorrow's practice looms with multiplied scrutiny and increased trade speculation. Will Stefanski maintain exclusion stubbornly, accelerating trade discussions? Can Sanders sustain professionalism amid marginalization while teams evaluate his character? Do players intervene protecting his interests by advocating for trades? Does ownership finally provide leadership by facilitating his departure to competitive situations? The middle ground vanished when Stefanski announced rotation excluding perfection, while confirming trade possibilities. Consequences reverberate immediately, ostensibly, perhaps permanently throughout the franchise. History judges harshly organizations making such miscalculations, and Cleveland appears determined to become another tragic example of dysfunction destroying championship potential. The question isn't whether Shedeur Sanders gets traded anymore. Multiple sources confirm discussions are accelerating. The question is which franchise will be smart enough to rescue generational talent from Cleveland's organizational politics, while giving him opportunities to fulfill the potential everyone except his current coaches can see clearly. Time is running out for Cleveland to recognize their catastrophic error, but it might already be too late. Sanders deserves better than this dysfunction, and very soon, he's going to get exactly that opportunity somewhere else. The only question remaining is which franchise will be intelligent enough to benefit from Cleveland's stunning incompetence.